Hello, my friends. Welcome. My name is Joe. This is the Joe Martino Show. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of contentment and happiness right now, today. We're at the halfway point of the year. Summer is here. It's all going to go by so fast. We need to choose happiness and contentment today to have the fullest, richest lives that we possibly can. Let's kick it off. This is the Joe Martino Show.
You're listening to The Joe Martino Show, a podcast dealing with all things emotional, relational, and human nature. Joe is a licensed counselor in the state of Michigan, specializing in relationship therapy. He is also the author of the book, The Emotionally Secure Couple. All advice offered in this episode is offered for entertainment and educational purposes only. Enjoy the show.
Okay, so let's talk about something. It is going to be June 5th, I think, when this drops, and I had one thing planned for it. I was going to read some questions. We didn't do an episode the end of May, or the first week of June. June 5th would be the first. The end of May, and I should have told you guys about that, and I didn't, and so I apologize. And I actually have the one recorded for all the questions, and I didn't like it, so I was going to do another one. And then I had this conversation. It seems to be on repeat to me with multiple people. And so I've like, okay, that's what I'm going to do the next episode on, and we're just going to move forward with that. And that is this. We have to be careful of the things that we think will bring us contentment or happiness. And I've talked about this before, but I just want to talk about it again because we are at the halfway of the year. And, you know, I talked a lot last year about how people were like, oh, man, this year is so hard. It's just been so hard. I'll be glad to see 2023 go. And to be honest with you, I was in that camp. I was happy to see 2023 end. I was happy to see 2023 go away. I was one of the people that was like, man, this has been a crazy hard year, and I am so glad that it's done. And I still stand by that. I still feel that way. And 2024 has been better, and it still has struggles. And one of the things that I realized a couple years ago was every year has struggles. So I was talking to somebody today, and I said to them, I said, you know, the thing that we have to consider is whatever days we have between now and the day we die, there's no days that aren't hard, right? Because we tend to think that happiness and contentment will come after something. And I've talked about this before, Sean Acor did a TED Talk years ago that I remember seeing it and I remember thinking, man, this is truth and gold. Now, he talks about the happiness advantage, but what he's really talking about is contentment, not happiness. Now, happiness is part of it, but he talks about, you know, we tend to think, oh, well, I'll be happy when. And so a lot of people I talk to, and they're like, man, my life is hard right now. And it is hard because one of the things that happens is the more successful you are, the harder things get. Because now you have more things to maintain. Now you have more things to take care of. Now you have more things to cultivate. And what happens is we tend to think, like I was talking to a guy and I was like, when you were making this amount of money, you thought when you would make this amount of money, you would be happy because this amount of money covered all your bills and a little bit more. But what happened was you made the amount of money that you're making today and it covers all of your bills and a little bit more, but it doesn't cover the kitchen remodel or the basement remodel that you want to do. And so now you're frustrated and you're like, I'll be happy when I make enough money to do the kitchen, or I'll be happy when I make enough money to cover the basement remodel. But the truth is when the kitchen and the basement get done, you'll find something else unless you train your mind to be happy where you're at, to be content with what you have. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I love biographies. I have a goal this year to read a lot more biographies than I have in the past. And I've been reading a Michael Jordan biography. I've actually been listening to it. I read it in hardcover format years ago. And I've been rewatching part of I've been rewatching all of it. The Last Dance, the documentary about him. And the person that strikes me in this the most is Jerry Krause, the GM. He literally had one of the greatest teams to ever be assembled, to ever play. Had one of the best coaches in the history of the NBA. I believe he had the best player to ever lace them up. And he blew it up because of his ego. And the owner went along with it because he didn't want to pay the money. And he still lost money. Now, he's still making money because, right, professional team and all that. But literally, Krause blew it up. He shut him down. He destroyed it because he was jealous and lacked contentment. And jealousy will always destroy contentment. And it almost always gets us the opposite of what we think it will get us. A lack of contentment almost always gets us a lack of what we think it'll get us. Now, contentment is not settling. And sometimes I see people who they just don't try for anything and they spin it as though they're being content. But in reality, they just don't try for anything. They don't want to risk failure, so they don't go after anything. Well, that's not helpful either, right? But like I think of Krause and I'm like, my guy. And if you don't follow basketball, I know I'm in danger of losing you here. But I mean, literally, he's the laughing stock of like people who study basketball. He is literally used in organizational leadership books on how not to lead an organization. And the thing that he was most concerned about was how he would be remembered for assembling his organization, for leading his organization. He got the exact opposite of what he was pursuing because people cared more about Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson than they did him. And he couldn't accept, in fact, the book that I was reading talks about one of the players who was also in that situation, who missed out on 3 of the 6 championships because of it. And essentially the author said that the player he was talking about seemed to miss out on one of life's most basic truths, that which is life is not fair. And it is not fair that some players were gifted with more ability than others and, better looks and all of that. And that is something that we rail against so much. We want life to be fair in ways that it never will be. And it robs us of our opportunity to be content, excuse me. And as you look at that and you think about it, one of the things that happens is we can get caught up in the moment and we get to chasing this thing, right? And so I see it all the time. The guy that's making $50,000 a year, barely paying his bills. I'll be happy when I make $100,000 a year because that my bills are 90, so that'll give me $10,000 left over. Then he makes $100,000. Well, I'll be happy when I'm making 150. Makes 150. Well, I'll be happy when I make 200. The person that doesn't have kids, I'll be happy when I have kids. And then they have kids. Man, I'll be happy when my kids are out of this stage of crying. And then their kids, I'll be happy when my kids go to school. Because I was going to talk about, this is typically the time of year where I talk about, hey, your kids are coming home for the summer. There's going to be more stress, but don't let the summer go by without intentionally living it. Don't let the summer go by without intentionally building memories with your kids. I was going to talk about that because that's something like I want to make sure that I'm constantly doing. So one of the things that hit me last year was we don't do a lot of fires around our house anymore. So this year we're doing more fires. And I don't even, I just tell the kids, hey, I'm having a fire tonight. If you want to come out, come on out. And I go light some wood, get a cold beverage and sit down and have the fire. And just make some memories with my kids. And the person that their kids are home for the summer, like, oh, I'll be happy when my kids are back in school. And then they'll complain when school comes because, oh, we're so busy. You have to find a way to be happy now. You have to find a way to be happy right now in the situation that you're in. And they state the rules, manage the exceptions. My friend John said that to me once and I loved it. I'm not saying if your spouse just died, your child just died, somebody you love just died, your dog just passed away. What I'm not saying if you're in the middle of tragedy, you have to be happy about that. But when you're caught up in the everyday run of life, you won't be more content or happier when your situation changes. That's the lie we tell ourselves all the time. When I don't have kids, I'll be happy when I have kids. When my kids stop crying, I'll be happy. When they go to school, I'll be happy. When they're done with school, I'll be happy. When they're out of elementary school, I'll be happy. When they're in middle school, I'll be happy. When they're in high school, I'll be happy. When they're in college, I'll be happy. When they're graduated and married, I'll be happy. When they have grandkids, I'll be happy. And all of a sudden, your life's over. And you're not happy. And you never learn to be happy because learning to be happy is a skill. It takes development. We all have the capability, but we have to learn. It's like kindness. I have so many clients tell me, well, I don't know if I know how to be kind. Shut up. And you know what I realized? So this is an ideation moment. This is totally unedited coming to you, this entire episode. There are people who don't come to see me as a counselor because I say, shut up in my podcast. That's kind of funny to me. You're too direct. And that's a whole other thing. Like people who come to counseling, one of the things I was talking to an intern about just this week is not everyone who comes to counseling wants to get better. Not everyone whose life is in trouble or whose life is hard wants to get better. They want excuses to avoid the work of getting better because it is easier to complain and develop that habit than it is to develop the habit of contentment, to develop the habit of moving through life, developing contentment and happiness and learning to be content and happy where I'm at. And I totally think that these can both exist at the same time. And the second thing to exist with learning to be happy and content in this moment is, and I can strive for more. I can strive to publish another book. I can strive to have a bigger social media footprint. I can strive to have more subscribers. I can strive to have more businesses and still learn to be content right now. I can look forward to my daughter getting married and grieve that. Listen to an episode just a few weeks ago. And I can love that my son is growing up and grieve that because he's my youngest. I can love that my daughter is starting college, that my other daughter is going to be a second semester sophomore, and that they're growing into these beautiful, intelligent, independent women with self-agency. And I can grieve it that they're not the same little girls that used to love to hang out with me. They still like to hang out with me. I think I can safely say that. But it's different. My wife and I went to a concert this past weekend, and it was wonderful. It was it's my favorite artist, and we had such a good time. And I can enjoy that moment. I can enjoy that moment and still look forward to enjoying more moments in the future. Consider other concerts in the future. And no one really gets tripped up over that. But when I start talking about you can be content and still want to strive for more in your life, people tend to get somewhat razzle-dazzled with me. They tend to get frazzled with me. They tend to get frustrated with me. And here's what I'm saying. This summer is here, and it's going to be whatever you decide to make it. For instance, I have more people that want to get in to see me than I have spots for. And I'm debating, do I add one more hour to my day? Now look, Monday to Wednesday, I'm already gone from early in the morning. Now, sometimes that's because I go to the gym. But that's part of my health routine, right? I'm already gone from early in the morning until very late in the evening. Like tonight, I probably won't get home till 9:30. Last night, I didn't get home till 9:30. And so if I add another hour, I'm going to really get home. And I hate doing that in the summer because I live in Michigan and summers go so quick. But I might have to do that, and I'm going to have to learn to be content doing that. If you're a longtime listener, I talked about how a year ago I bought a truck. And I wasn't sure if I made the right decision. In fact, I was pretty sure that I made the wrong decision. And I didn't know, and I was back and forth, and I got caught up, and the truck was pretty, and it was a downgrade, so the gas mileage was better, but it didn't serve my family's needs. And did I screw up for my family, and how do I handle it? I came to the conclusion about a month and a half ago, I have to own the fact that I made a mistake. I did it wrong. I should not have brought on this bill of the truck, and I'm not a Dave Ramsey guy, so that's not why I'm saying it, but that other truck was paid off, and it met my needs, and the fact that I was never going to get more money for it didn't matter. I screwed up. I made a mistake. And so now I'm stuck. I'm paying for a truck that I don't want. So I set up alerts, and I started looking, and I found a truck that takes me back to the size truck that I need. I did some negotiating, and I made the deal, and I bought a different truck because it meets my family's needs. And I'm not ashamed of the fact that I made a mistake because I'm content in the fact that if I'm going to be doing things, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm content in the fact that the only people who make mistakes are the people that are trying to do things. And there is this balance between being content and striving for more. And when you strive for more, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to struggle. And so this summer is going to be whatever you make it with your kids. The rest of this year, you have 6 months left. And I say this a lot, but I'm telling you, as I age, I realize just how fast it all goes. You have 6 months left in this year. What are you going to do with it? And I'm not talking like, look, you don't have to invent another electric car and call it whatever. What would Tesla be backwards? I'm not even going to try it. Aslet? It might be you just want to read a book between now and December 31st. It might be that you want to intentionally spend 2 weekends a month for the next 3 months with your kids, just sitting outside playing. Right? And you just have to be content in that. Now, look, here's the thing. If you take June, one Saturday's gone in June, and I don't know, June might be one of those months that has, how many Saturdays do we have here in June? 1, 2, 3, 4 more. We have 4 more. So we have 5 Saturdays in June this year. What are you going to do with the next 4 Saturdays? Right? So you have those 4 Saturdays. You have 4 Saturdays in July. That's 8. And if you live here where I live, you basically have 2 Saturdays in August and summer's over. Your kids are back in school. What are you going to do? Well, you have 3 probably because they probably don't start till the week of the 20th. What are you going to do with the next 11 weeks? Because that's what you have. And you're going to have to learn to be content. And this cuts both ways. I was talking to a dad, and he was like, I hate family vacations because I have all these dreams about what family vacations are going to look like. And we're going to be sitting around a campfire. My kids are going to be talking to me. And all they want to be is on their devices. And then I end up yelling. And I said to him, could you be content in the distress with your kids? Because here's the thing. Contentment is the price that you pay for peace. Contentment is the price that you pay for peace and happiness. In fact, I want to do a whole episode on that at some point. But can you be content? Like I said, it's weird. And I'm just my kids must be some sort of alien robots. Because I'm like, it doesn't happen with my kids. Well, that's because your kids are like, no, they have devices. And like we've gone on camping trips where my one daughter, well, maybe all 3 of them, at least I can think of at least one time, all 3 of them, they were just in their room on devices inside the camper. And it was okay. I was content with the time that we had. And what happens is the more content that I became with it, the more peace we had. And the more peace we had, the more they tended to come hang out with me. The more they tended to engage me. The more they tended to move towards me. And so what happens is the more time you spend with them, you have to be able to be content because it's rarely going to go the way you scripted in your head. And if you want peace, if you want happiness, contentment's the price you pay. And people say to me, well, how do I learn contentment? You practice gratitude. You practice thankfulness. You practice purposely making grateful and gratitude. Would it be grateful or gratitude? Making thoughts about gratitude go through your mind. You practice making thankfulness go through your mind. You purposely practice being thankful for the experiences that you have healthy children, that you have a healthy child, that you have children with you, that you have a spouse, or if you don't have a spouse, that you've negotiated that so that you have time with your children. Well, I don't have as much time as I want. I get it. And you can strive for more and be thankful for the time that you have. Well, my kids are fill in the blank with a negative word. Okay. Then train them by behaving and modeling what it is that you want them to be trained toward. Teach your kids gratitude because the thing of it is you're not going to run down training a child that is grateful, training a child that has contentment if you're not content. So train them to be content by you being content. And you can still strive for more. Be thankful for the job that you have. And if you want a job that pays more, that challenges you more, strive for that. They're not mutually exclusive. You can go after both. But don't fool yourself. You're not going to be any happier then than you are now unless you make the choice to be happy now. Because you choose your happiness. You choose your contentment. And there is a rub here. There is some stress here. Because if you can't pay your bills, it's very hard to be thankful in that situation. It's very hard to be grateful. And it's a high stress situation. I've actually been in that situation. And I remember waking up thinking, I have no idea how I'm going to pay my bill tomorrow. I remember there was a time we almost lost our house. And I remember The first time I went 30 days past due on a mortgage payment, and then 60, and then 90, and then 120. Because I just didn't have any income coming in. I had 3 kids. It was terrifying. And even in that situation, you have to figure out, how do I strive for more and learn to be content? How do I strive for more and practice happiness, practice gratitude, practice thankfulness? All right, so we're going to talk about some practical ways to practice gratitude and thankfulness in an upcoming episode. We're going to talk about practical ways to talk about how contentment is the price you pay for peace. My wife is planning on coming on some episodes. We're going to talk about some topics that are pretty common for couples. She's actually thinking about getting back into blogging and writing. We're not quite sure what that's going to look like. She might just blog on my website. We might have her blog on her website. We're going to talk about some parenting stressors. If you haven't already and you want to follow me, you want to get my blog post sent directly to your email, you can go to joemartino.com and you're going to find 2 different links there. You're going to find one link that will take you to my blog that is about all things spiritual and religious, about faith, about my faith, how it interacts with my life. And you're also going to find one to Emotionally Inclined, which is my regular blog. IamJoeMartino.substack.com is another way to get there, but you just hit subscribe and you'll get all the updates directly to your email box. My hidingbehindgod.substack.com blog, that's my spiritual one. That right now is about 2 posts a month, maybe 3. So you're not going to get a lot of spam. It's just literally some quick stuff being sent to you. Hopefully some things that provide some fodder for you to chew on, something for you to think about. I want to talk about a discussion that my wife and I had that was very spirited. And it was because we were not matching conversations. And at the same time, we still got to the end of the day and we're like, man, that was a good day, because we have an expected fail rate that I've talked about in the past. Those are some future episodes coming up. I'm hoping to get caught up here on my episodes really quick. Life is just chaotic. I do the podcast more as a labor of love than anything. And so when life gets busy in the summer, I have taken summers off in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this summer. I'm planning on just recording straight through the summer. But it might end up being just 3 posts a month in June. Well, in June it would be 4 because there's right. But July and August might just be 3 posts for each month. We'll see if I get caught up here at some point. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please share with a friend. And hey, give us that rating in your podcast store. Until next time, change possible.